Hey guys, welcome to another math lesson with HK Math and Science. This video will be about the area of basic shapes, and by the end of this lesson we should be able to convert between different units of area, be able to find the area of basic shapes, and finally be able to find the area of composite shapes. Let's just pause the video here and take a couple of minutes to write these down. Alright, so we're going to start the lesson off with the common metric units for area. And the first one of these is square millimeters or millimeters squared, and it's written like that here. Our next one is square centimeters, and we have square meters, square kilometers, and hectares. And we have this little flowchart to the left that shows us how to convert between the two. So from kilometer squared to meter squared, we'll multiply it by 1000 squared, or 1 million. From meter squared to centimeter squared, we'll be multiplied by 100 squared, or 10,000. And from centimeter squared, we'll be 2 millimeters squared, we'll be multiplying by 10 squared, or 100. So I really suggest you write that down, and if you want to go backwards, we just divide it. And there's one more conversion that we need to know, and that's from hectares to meters squared. 1 hectare is simply 10,000 meters squared. So let's draw this one down into our books as well. Alright, so now let's have a go at some of these conversions here. So our first one is from 0.248 meters squared to centimeters squared. And if we have a look at the slide before, it says from meter squared to centimeter squared, so meter squared to centimeter squared there. All we need to do is multiply it by 100 squared, or 10,000. So let's have a go at that. For question A, we do 0.248 times, let's have a look again, 100 squared there. So just write 100 squared, and you can put that into your calculator. Let's have a go at that. And that should have given you 2,480. And don't forget the unit, centimeters squared there. And next one is from millimeters squared to centimeters squared. So we're going the other direction this time. That's from millimeters squared to centimeters squared. We'll be dividing it by 10 squared, or 100. So that's 3,100 or 3,100 divided by 10 squared. That's 3,100 divided by 100. And that will give you a value of 31 centimeters squared there. And now next one here, let's have a go at these ones by yourself and just unpause when you're ready to go through them with me. This first question says convert these area measurements to the units shown in the bracket. So we're going from meter squared to centimeter squared again. So that's 3.51. Let's have a look at the slide before again. So from meter squared to centimeter squared is 100 squared multiplied by 100 squared. So just write that down here and then put that into your calculator, and that should give you a value of 35,100 centimeters squared. Give yourself a tick if you got that correct. And the next one, B, that's 150 millimeters squared to centimeters squared. So this one will be dividing it by 10 squared. Let's just double check that in the slide before with the flowchart. And it does in fact say divide by 10 squared there. Alright, so that also means 150 divided by 100. And that will give you a value of 1.5 centimeters squared. Give yourself a tick if you got that one correct as well. Alright, now moving on to the area of basic shapes. Our basic shapes we're going to go through today include the square, rectangle, parallelogram, and triangle. So this slide just goes over the general formula for finding the area of these shapes here. And for a square, it's just the length squared, or length times length. For a rectangle is length times width. For parallelogram, it is the base times height, and triangle is half times the base times height. So let's just write these down into our books as well. So we just need to write these formulas. I'll just underline the parts you need to write. You'll need to write that one here: square area, rectangle area, parallelogram area, and triangle area. Alright, now let's have a go at some area questions here. First one is a rectangle, and the formula for a rectangle was length times width. That would mean it will be 2 times 6, and our answer will therefore be 12 centimeters squared. Don't forget the units there. Let's go to question B. For parallelogram, it was base times height, and that will be 8 times 3, and that will give you a value of 24 meters squared. And for a triangle, the formula, refer back to the formulas if you need to, will be half times base times height, so 13 times 7. And feel free to use a calculator if you need. That will give you a value of 45.5 meters squared there. Alright, now it's your turn. Just pause the video, have a go at these ones by yourself, and remember you can refer back to these formulas if you need to. Alright, so for a square, same as before, area of a rectangle, is base times height. That gives me 7 times 3, which will give me a value of 21 centimeters squared. Our next one, parallelogram, that's also base times height. That's 10 times 4 there. It should have been length times width, That's base times height. That will give me a value of 40 meters squared. And our triangle here is half times base times height. Our base is 8, height is 5. That gives me half times 8 times 5 there. And if we work that out, that should give you a value of 20 meters squared. Give yourself a tick for each one you got correct there. Alright, the last thing we need to learn about today is composite shapes. So areas of composite shapes can be found by adding or subtracting the area of more basic shapes. So it combines our knowledge of the different basic shapes, so all of these over here. So this will make a bit more sense when we go through a couple of questions. Let's have a go at these questions on this slide. So this one, we need to find the area of these composite shapes but using addition or subtraction. So if we have a look at this shape here, we can see that it's a rectangle with a little triangle cut out from it. We can find the area of this rectangle this shape, by first finding the area of the rectangle and then subtracting the area of the triangle. So let's have a go at that. The area of the rectangle is 60 meters squared. I'll just show you how that is. Area of rectangle is length times width, that's 10 times 6, that gives me 60 meters squared. And the area of the triangle, I'll just write that there, is the base is 10, it's going to be same as that one. Remember, multiply it by half as well, so it's half times base times height. Base was 10, and our height we can see is 4 there. So that will give me a value of 20 meters squared. Alright, now to find the area of this shape, we're going to do 60 minus 20, and that will give me a value of 40 meters squared. Alright, hopefully you're following along, but if you are confused at any point, just feel free to ask your teacher. And this next one, we can see a square here and a square here. So you can work this one out by finding this square first and then adding the area of that square. Let's have a go at that. This first one is a square. All sides are the same length there. So for B, it will be, for this big one, area of square. This one looks like a rectangle, so I'll call that one the rectangle. Will be 3 squared, so that'll be 9 millimeters squared there. And this small square on the right, the area of rectangle, is length times width, so 1 times 1.2, and that will give me a value of 1.2 millimeters squared. We're just multiplying 1.2 by 1, so you won't really need a calculator for that. And now all we do is add these two areas together, so total area is going to equal 9 plus 1.2, and that will give you a value of 10.2 millimeters squared. Alright, now it's your turn. Just pause the video here, have a look at these ones by yourself, and pause when you're ready to go through them with me. Alright, so same deal for this one here. We're going to find the area of the rectangle and then subtract the area of the triangle. So area of rectangle would be 10 times 8, so 80 meters squared. Area of triangle is going to equal base is that one, so that's same as that, so that's 10. It's half times 10 times height, which is 3. That will give me a value of 15 meters squared. So our total area is going to equal 80 minus 15. That will give you a value of 65 meters squared. Give yourself a tick if you got that one correct. And the next one, we have a big rectangle at the bottom and a square here, and all these sides are 3 millimeters. So we can say this one has, you can split that up into 3 squares, so we can say this total length is 9 millimeters. So we can find, I'll just fix that up a little bit. We can find the area of the rectangle, I'll say area of rec equals 9 times 3, that gives me 27 millimeters squared, and the area of the square would be 3 times 3, or 3 squared, that gives me 9 millimeters squared. That should be millimeters too. And the total area is going to be 27 plus 9, and that gives you a value of 36 millimeters squared. Give yourself a tick if you got that one correct as well. Alright, so that brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys have a better understanding of area now, and you guys can convert between the different units of area, can find the area of basic shapes, and finally can find the area of composite shapes. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys all back online.